ready to chug some beers and make some bad gambling picks. Welcome to ChuggieBets.
Oh, what a Christmas Sunday it was. The presents were fine. Or Christmas Monday it was. And Christmas Eve, also a slapper. And the presents were fine and everything was good. But I got a question for you, Al. Do you think God hates the NFL or the NFL hates God? Because for those church-going folks, they had some real conundrums this weekend.
Oh my God. Yeah. So obviously the NFL chooses to put its game on Sundays. It's the Lord's Day. So obviously that's on the NFL, right? But so let me just paint a picture for you. So the Lions would be clinching the NFC North for the first time in their history since we went to the, 4 conference divisions on Sunday with a win against the Vikings. Okay. It's 1 o'clock kickoff, so that game's going to end around 4:15, 4:30. Our kids were in a recital for the Christmas Eve mass at our church. We go to the service and they got to be there early to get all set up, get their costumes situated and all that. And my wife is staring holes at me. I'm walking around with my phone in my hand, got a bootleg stream pulled up, sitting on a bench outside watching the final drive to see if the Lions were going to win the game or not. Service had not began, to be clear, so I wasn't being full on degenerate, but I even saw clips online of other Lions fans had the game pulled up in church. Man, that's a really shitty position to be in. So the Lions won, they clinched the division, so that's fantastic. But it's just, I sent that clip to my wife too. I was like, I'm glad I'm not the only one, and at least I didn't take my phone into the church doing it. But yeah,
I feel like it was a bad day to be a church Wi-Fi because you're using the hell out of it. I bet you in every church in America there was someone streaming football at the same time.
Honestly, if they just had a feed of Red Zone on mute behind up on the altar, I'd go to church every week. I think
this is our blood. This is God's blood, and then you just see
they drop a 85-inch TV screen over blocking the crucifix up on the altar, really drop down 6-foot tall speakers. Oh,
let us hope.
If the NFL is not our God, I don't know what is.
Honestly, I feel like it's more impactful than the Christian Lord. No, it was a tough weekend to be a churchgoer. And I've always thought about this. It's got to be hard to be an NFL fan on the West Coast, right? A church-going NFL fan on the West Coast. You probably have to go Saturday night. I guess that would probably be the workaround there. You go to Saturday night mass because Monday morning,
football.
If you're a Steelers fan or someone on the East Coast and you live in Los Angeles or San Diego, you got some real conundrums. You're going to early mass or you're not going. Or you're going to be like this. Let us proclaim the mystery of the butt fumble.
Nothing like a little light blast for me to kick off the podcast.
Yeah, that's just what we need in the Christmas season. My name's Playoff Bound Matt. That's Playoff Bound Al. We're both going to the playoffs. We're going to give you all our picks for week 17.
Yes.
Big week. A lot to be determined. Before then, we got a drink. Cheers.
Man, what a week that was.
Serious.
We had a pretty good week as a unit together too last week too.
Yeah,
all of us about 500.
Let's talk about our week, and then we'll talk about the week that was. As a team, we were 19-11 last week. We've been on an absolute heater the last 3 weeks. Al was 8-6. Andy was 6-3. I was 5-2. That rounds up to 19-11.
So good.
You can get some Christmas presents. You can get your wife. You can be one of those insane people in the Lexus commercials that goes out and buys their wife a car without talking to their wife about it, the December to Remember event or whatever that shit is. You can do that with this kind of money, and she wouldn't bat an eye. She'd probably bat an eye because it's a crazy thing to do. But that puts us at 58% on the year, 276 and 200. We are doing well, buddy. We are doing well. Let's talk about a little bit about the week that was. Congratulations on winning the NFC North. I know it has been eons or decades since that happened. That's an incredible feeling.
Prior to Sunday, the Tampa Bay Bucks had won that division more recently than the Lions had.
The NFC Central? The classic NFC Central division?
The black and blue. Yeah, That's the one. Back Mike Allstott heyday.
When the Seahawks were an AFC team, I remember it well. A couple of games I do want to talk about. I don't know if you watched the San Francisco-Baltimore game last night. It was ugly, and it got ugly really quick, and Brock Purdy had a terrible game. But were you more impressed with Baltimore or more discouraged by San Francisco's performance?
Man, honestly, I expected it to be a really good game. I had money on the Ravens to cover, and they did. I don't think I don't think it looks bad to San Francisco because the Ravens have done this to a handful of teams this season to just demolish like legitimately good teams. I mean, Jacksonville has fallen off, but the Ravens decimated them. I mean, the score was closer than that game was. They blew out the Lions. They blew out the 49ers. I think it's just game planning, or I don't know what it is. It's like, because when you watch the Ravens, they don't look like that kind of like wagon, you know? They don't look like they can just go and steamroll the best team in the league, you know? But then they do, and you're like, well, shit. And then they do it again. You're like, okay. So I think the Ravens are just firmly. I think that was pretty much a Super Bowl preview, right? We're going to see Ravens and 49ers. Those are the two best teams, best team in each conference.
That's likely the case. Look, Brock Purdy had a historically bad game, but he's been really good. And I do think a little regression was to be expected, but I don't feel any different about either team. I think if Brock Purdy doesn't throw 4 interceptions, that game is super close at the end. It was a 14-point game anyways, and 2 of those were in like near the red zone or in the scoring area.
Sam Darnold sighting.
Sam Darnold sighting as well.
I think the Ravens defense is just very underrated.
Agreed.
I think that's a very, very good defense that has, I think, just gotten better as the season's gone on. So, I think that they're the cream of the crop of the AFC.
For sure. And this is going to be a really fun weekend for the Ravens Dolphins, for the top 2 teams in the AFC, to determine things. What's up with your Jags?
Was it 4 in a row they've dropped now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence making bad decisions with the ball. It's somewhat questionable play calling. It seems like they've got a lot of injuries too that has probably led to more miscommunications and the what appears to be bad decision making. So I don't know. I think it's just a conflagration of various different things, but I do think it's a get right spot this week for them. I thought that was the case last week, and then they got their dicks kicked in by the Bucks. But they still, despite losing 4 in a row, are still in position to win the division. And I think they could potentially, I think they can clinch this week if they win and the Texans and Colts both lose, which is possible.
It's certainly possible. I think you saw, I forgot who the quarterback was for the Texans this weekend without
I'm blanking.
It ain't good. It wasn't good. Colts lost to
Case Keenum. Case Keenum,
yeah. It wasn't good. The Colts lost to the Falcons, and the Falcons kind of kicked the shit out of the Colts, which is really...
So, despite a bad performance for the Jags, they didn't lose any ground because the Colts and Texans also lost, so...
Yeah. So let's talk both Souths really quick, right? But all 3 of the teams are tied at 8-7. Give me who wins the AFC South. Is it the Jags, Colts, or Texans?
Yeah, I still think it's going to be the Jags. I think they're going to win this week, and either the Colts or Texans will also lose. And then that sets up, the 2 division games next week, which I think it's Jags and Titans and the Colts and Texans. So the Jags could, in theory, win the division without winning another game, I think. But I think it's still the Jags' division to lose.
I do too. I'll be curious to see if CJ Stroud comes back and makes it really interesting. D'Amico Ryans, we talked about him.
I sure hope he does.
I know you've been glowing about D'Amico Ryan's the job he's doing in Houston, and it has been fucking impressive. They have been absolutely cruising recently. CJ Stroud gets hurt, and you see a regression. I'd be interested to watch him get back in the fold a little bit. And I think the Colts are out in front of their skis a bit, right? Like I think there's going to be a regression coming there. All right, let's talk NFC South. You got the Bucks, who looked good this weekend. You got the Falcons, who looked good this weekend. The Saints did not look particularly great against the Rams, but Bucks are up by a game. Is this Tampa's conference to win or division to win?
Yeah, I think that win against the Jags really kind of gave them a little bit of breathing room. They're a game up. I think they're also better than the Saints and the Falcons. There's still plenty of room for either of those two teams to, sneak in and make a move. I mean, the Saints can beat the Bucks this week and really muck things up. But then the Bucks finish with the Panthers in Carolina, which isn't a lock, but I mean, I think Carolina's been playing better lately since they fired Frank Reich, which I guess maybe is not a great indicator for Frank Reich's quality as a coach. But I really love these end of the season division game matchups where like a lot can be decided in the last 2 weeks, and that bears fruit here because we're just talking about how we're surprised only 2 more teams were eliminated this week, and I think that's because so many teams are still technically alive to win their division.
Yeah, the amount of teams in the AFC that have clinched are 2. Dolphins and Ravens. There are a lot of teams. It's crazy. Like Cleveland has 10 wins. They're technically not out of even winning their division. With Baltimore, who's already clinched. It's wild. It's a wild time. This is the week. This is the week where the rubber meets the road. Next week, you'll see a matchup in the South. One of those teams, there will be a battle that will be important. It may be Falcons Saints. If the Bucks lose this weekend and Falcons and Saints win, there will be a lot of fun coming. So I'm excited. But before we get to that, we have to say adieu to a couple teams in the NFL. Your season no longer matters to me outside of for some betting reasons, but we only lost 2 teams. There's only been 8 teams eliminated to this point. The Chargers were eliminated with that near loss to the Bills. I would have really appreciated a win there. And the New York Giants were eliminated with their near loss to the Phillies, the Eagles. Who would you like to give a compliment sandwich to of those 2?
Well, obviously, the tastier of the 2 is going to be the sandwich, the Tommy Cutlets sandwich, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, maybe I'll take a stab at that one. So, New York, Mamma Mia, what a lovely, spicy meatball of a city you are. Fantastic. The offense is a little bit stinky. It needs to be freshened up a little bit, despite Tommy DeVito's wonderful branding opportunity that arose. He leaves a little bit to be desired on the field. So plenty of room for growth there. But man, what a food city, the Gabagool. I got my kids to do this. I taught them to do this while we listen to Dominic the Donkey.
Hell yeah.
For the Christmas song. So it's fantastic. Love it.
Yeah, he's Jeremy Lin, right?
Cultural appropriation.
No, not even that, but like that city latches onto someone who's mediocre, and they're fine, right? Mediocre means mean. Jeremy Lin's a good basketball player. Tommy DeVito is a good football player. Hell of a lot better football player than I am, or the average person on the street, or most of the people playing football. But they latch onto it. I was at a event, and everyone there was like Giants fans, and they kept talking about how Tommy DeVito's the thing. But 6 months earlier, they were telling me Daniel Jones is the thing. I'm like, you guys just love the smell of your own fart so much. Holy shit. It must be the water, which makes the perfect.
It's all that steam that comes up out of the roads. It's like trash steam. I think they're like huffing that, and it's killing brain cells because they love some like awful, talentless athletes there.
They do. Let me say adieu to the Chargers. You fired Brandon Staley. That was a good move. I'm proud of you. There was clearly a problem there, and he's a defensive guy, and your defense sunk. So you fired Brandon Staley.
I loved when they were like, you gave up 63 points to the Raiders, so you think you'll have a job tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, I think so. The hubris.
What is he supposed to say there? Nope.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah,
would be
no,
a
I think that was it. I think I'm done.
yeah, no, I'm pretty useless at my job. Los Angeles is oh no, I'm sorry. Los Angeles is a terrible sports town. You should move them back to San Diego where they belong, where people used to be the Superchargers. Put them in Qualcomm Stadium. Don't improve a damn thing. They'd still have a better turnout for a home field event than you will, even in a decrepit, falling down stadium. It stinks here in Los Angeles. Go back to San Diego and wear your light blues all the time. And look, you don't have Justin Herbert. When he comes back, you're going to be better. Get rid of Easton Stick. It's bad luck, but you lost Justin Herbert in a useless year.
What you gonna do?
That's our compliment sandwich for that. I do want to note that I did a dumb teaser last week. The dumb teaser did hit. I didn't need to do the dumb teaser for that to hit. I could have just parlayed them, and I would have won a lot more money. But the dumb teaser did hit. So anyone who's keeping track at home, the 7 of you who listen, you're welcome for the dumb teaser of the week. But no dumb teasers this week. Let's get straight into picks. What do you say, bud?
Let's do it.
All right. Thursday, we got the Jets going into the Browns. Joe Flacco looks pretty great. I don't know what to say at this point. I've been trying to hate on Joe Flacco, but he's been awesome. Their defense is awesome. This is a great defensive battle. What are you doing here?
Yeah, so this is the week to take the Thursday night under 36.5. And then I also like the Jets plus 7.5. And I especially like doing both of those bets together because they kind of they're harmonious bets, you know. If one's going to hit, the other is more likely to hit. So I like it.
I took last week off from the Thursday under. I don't remember the score, but I think I would have lost it. This week we're back, baby. Daddy's itching. He needs his fix of Thursday under 36.5. Good defensive matchup. Points are going to be a commodity here. I do think Cleveland with Joe Flacco, which is crazy to say, is the better offensive side. Amari Cooper going for 300 yards last week. Receiving was bananas. He had a third quarter that is like, I couldn't believe the stats, like 190 yards and 3 touchdowns or whatever. It was wild. I do think there are some player prop opportunities. I would take Amari Cooper under. I would take Joe Flacco under. Unders as well because everyone's going to be riding high there, but under 36.5. Saturday night, NFL is back, baby. We got Detroit going into Dallas, a really juicy matchup. Both teams have clinched the playoffs there. Detroit does not have a ton to play for. Dallas does. Al, I know you don't have a bet, but do you have a thought on the game?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't tell if it's head or heart, but I really want to bet the Lions here. I think it was at 6.5 earlier. I think it's down to 6. I think I was hoping it would get to 7. I think the over is something to consider. I think both of these teams will be able to score some points. I really think it's going to be a close game. Despite the Lions having already clinched the division, Dan Campbell's hinted that the Lions are not going to be resting anybody. They're still playing to take the 2 seed, and then they're still alive for the 1 seed as well. So I don't think they're going to be taking the foot off the gas at any point. The Cowboys, along the same lines, are still fighting for the division. Obviously, you want to be the team that wins that division. You end up being the 2 or 3 seed versus the wild card that's got to go on the road. So, yeah, I'm expecting that to be a really good matchup.
Sorry, I died there. Yeah, I am curious to see the outcome. I know it doesn't technically matter, but the playoffs do matter, right? Like who you're faced up with. Who is Philly is playing Arizona this week.
Yeah,
So that's a win. Dallas does have some motivation here to play.
Yeah.
And then
I also think the whole resting guys is, I think that's part of why they moved division games later into the season, because a lot of these divisions aren't decided yet, and you don't want to be resting guys. You can't. Whereas it used to be a team would be 12-2 and have 4 games left or whatever, I don't know, 10-2, whatever, and they could essentially take a month off and rest and recover because everything was locked up. But that's not very much the case these days. So I do think it's really a week 18 situation, almost strictly. But yeah,
Yep. All right, let's go to New England versus Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo's been on a real heater. They did get lucky last week, but so did the Dolphins, right? They got lucky to pull out the win, so luck doesn't matter as long as you get the W. No pictures on the scorecard, they say in golf. Al, what are you doing here?
yeah. So I I had 2 bets I liked here, but they don't work. They're not very they don't help each other out
Harmonious?
very much. So I wanted to lay the points with Buffalo, and I wanted to take the under. But I do think Buffalo's a little harder to trust, and the Pats have been playing better lately. So I'm going with under 41 here instead of laying the 11.5 with Buffalo. If you like the Buffalo spread better, play that one instead. But officially for the pod, I'm on the under.
Yeah, I like the under here. I don't know. I'll be curious to see what Buffalo's motivation. I know that they have to win, but once they start winning, how aggressive will they be? Right? Are they going to save anything for the Miami game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Buffalo's fighting for their lives, man. I think there's a lot. They're smack dab in the middle of the wild card race. So I think their hope is that they win out and Baltimore beats Miami and they can win the division somehow. But if they don't do that, they might win out and still not make the playoffs. So I think we're going to see the best Buffalo we can. But I also think the Patriots are in a spot where Belichick's essentially coaching for his job, and he wants to continue putting out good performances. And they've looked pretty good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
And
this is the classic situation. I don't think any team's going to take it off, and I don't think Belichick's going to take it off. I think he's going to drill them into
yeah,
being proper. And Andy's in the same boat. He's got New England plus 12 here. He's taking the 12 with New England. I don't hate that. I don't really know what the play is here. Look, Buffalo's considerably better than New England, but it's a week by week game. The NFL. Falcons, Bears. Andy and I are both on the Falcons plus 3. The motivation here is the Falcons played a lot of close games minus the Colts game last week. They have something to play for. They are playing the early spot in the NFC South. New Orleans and Tampa Bay will be playing simultaneously. So the events they'll be coinciding with one another. I see Atlanta having a lot more motivation here to win this game. So Atlanta plus 3, I can see us losing this on a draw or like it coming down to a field goal and Chicago winning by 3. But I think Atlanta plus 3, Andy and I are on the right side there.
yeah. I think I don't have a good feel for who's going to win that game, so take the points. Makes sense.
Las Vegas, Indianapolis. Indy is a 3-point favorite. Las Vegas has been so much better under Antonio Pierce. They are like a brand new team with Antonio Pierce here. Now get him a quarterback in the offseason. Let's see what they can do. Al, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I think I hate this pick, but I'm laying 3 with the Colts at home. The Raiders have looked so good lately. Antonio Pierce done a great job with that team in the interim. I also think the Colts are they're not as good as their record indicates. They shouldn't be winning these games. But this is essentially the Colts did not cover last week and the Raiders did. So take the Colts in that spot. They're at home. I'd love to get this under 3, but it's at 3. So we'll take that and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I like that too. I think Indianapolis has something to play for, especially at home. I know Vegas has been playing better, but it's only a matter of time till there's a little regression. Las Vegas has nothing to pay. Technically, I think they're still alive, but the percentages are not good for them to stay.
Yeah.
Let's go Arizona, Philadelphia. Andy is taking 10.5 with Arizona. That seems like a dangerous place to be. I know Philadelphia has been playing bad. They did pull out a win against New York the other day, but it was tight on Christmas Day. But I think Andy feels confident that Kyler Murray and Arizona will keep this to a single-digit margin.
Yeah, I
Let's
think everyone's waiting for Philly to like bounce back, and it feels like a good spot to do it. But it's a lot of points to lay in the NFL, especially for a team whose offense has been kind of you know, enigmatic. It's kind of been missing a lot of these recent games.
You know what's
Also,
crazy?
go ahead.
As far as the Eagles, right? Most teams with 7 more wins than they have losses, like the Eagles at 11-4, their point differential is close, like plus 50 or more, usually plus 100.
Yeah.
The Eagles' point differential is plus 26. For comparison, the Cowboys' plus point differential is plus 130 with one less loss. And now I know with one less win. Now I know the Cowboys blow teams out at home. They've done this weird thing where they can't win on the road and they kill teams at home. But like Los Angeles Rams at 8-7 have the same point differential as the Eagles at 11-4. Right. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of fraud alert, a little
sure.
fraudulent concern.
I mean, the Bucks too, plus 24, and so we're talking about a team who, has done a bad job putting teams away.
Yeah, they get blown the fuck out in games.
Yeah.
So that's the only like math I can figure out how that works. Either way,
Yeah.
I think
What the variance is.
You'll see Philadelphia bounce back a little bit. I do think they'll win this game, but plus 10.5 is what Andy's on, and I don't hate it at all. All right, we were talking about the NFC South. This is a huge game for the NFC South. If Tampa wins this game, they take a dominant control in the NFC South. New Orleans is going to Tampa, and we have a mini cyclone here, everybody. Al, what are we doing here?
We're taking the points with the Saints. Take it, New Orleans plus 3 on the road in Tampa. I think, it's like I was just saying with the Colts. It's like I don't think the Bucs can keep getting away with it. I think the Saints. I don't know. It seems like that whole division. It's like who's going to shoot themselves in the foot less. And so far it's been the Bucs lately. But there's still some important games to be had. So I'll take the Saints.
It's a Mexican standoff or Spider-Man meme, everyone pointing at each other like, hey, it's you.
Yeah.
But they're all the same team in the NFC South. Tampa does look like the best team in the NFC South. I just like the plus 3. It just feels like the right amount of points. If Tampa wins a close one, great. If they win by 3, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're winning by more than 3 here.
I also I'm going to take the under 42 in the Rams-Giants game. I don't really have much to add to that. No worries. I don't have much to add to that game aside from the fact that I think the Rams can't afford to let that one slip, but I think the Giants defense might give them some trouble. You never know what the weather's going to be like in New York or New Jersey rather in the winter. So under 42, I think that one stays low scoring.
Yeah, sorry. I did pass that one up, and that was my fault. What are the Rams' chances of making the playoffs? I'm trying to pull up the playoffs.
I think it's pretty good. I think in the NFC, it's essentially the Rams and the Seahawks, and whoever loses the division in the NFC East. Outside of that, the only real challenge would be from the Vikings or another NFC South team. So,
are the Packers still alive?
They are technically still alive. Yep, they're 7-9 or 7-8, and the Vikings are 7-8. So those are your two teams gunning for the last spot. They play each other this week also. So whoever wins that game or whoever loses that game rather is essentially out of the wild card running, unless all these other teams lose too.
Got it. It's going to be a fun week, like we said. This is a big one. San Francisco off that really bad loss, going into Washington. I hate this play. I hate it. San Francisco, I think you're going to see a very spiteful, angry San Francisco coming in. But I can't say no to plus 14 at home. I cannot say no to Washington plus 14 at home. It is just too many points. Take Washington plus 14. Andy's on a similar play. He's on Washington plus 14. But Andy's also going to do the over 48.5. Don't hate it at all. Don't hate that in the least bit. Al, what are you doing here?
Yeah, this one's got real backdoor potential. But I'm laying the 13.5 with San Francisco. I'm also taking the over 48.5. So I think the thought is we're going to hit the over, and that'll kind of cushion the blow if the 49ers don't cover. But I also think, like we just mentioned, obviously taking a double-digit dog at home makes sense, but I do think San Fran is sort of an exception to that rule.
Yep. Expect a 34-20 win. That's what we're saying. Expect a 34-20 win from San Francisco. All right, buddy. You and I are in the same play here. We got Carolina going into Jacksonville. Jacksonville has not played particularly well. I think they've lost the last 4. Am I correct about that?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But the perfect cure for what ails you is a game against the Carolina Panthers, who have been playing better, as we talked about earlier in the program. I'm
I think particularly a home game against the Carolina Panthers. So
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
going
going.
into Carolina can sometimes be tricky, but yeah, getting them to come to you. Yeah, I also think the Jags have had their opportunities to really seal this division up for essentially a month now. They dropped that OT game against the Bengals. They lost a close one against Joe Flacco and the Browns. They got beaten by Baltimore, and then they didn't show up to Tampa last week. And I think now they've run out of opportunities to waste, and now it's time to put up or shut up. So I think they're also getting a little bit more healthy. I think Cam Robinson's back at tackle, so that should hopefully provide a little more throwing time for Trevor. And there's probably, I don't know if there's a better team to see on your schedule than the Carolina Panthers in this spot. So I'm laying 6.5 with the Jags.
Yeah, it's a get right. It feels good. It's like when you're a college football fan and you see like Kent State is coming up. You're like, all right,
Yeah.
we got we've had a tough schedule so far, but let's get to Kent State. That'll get everything right.
If the Jags lose this game, they're out of the playoffs, I think. So it's really do or die.
You really think that it's that?
I mean, I don't know if they'll actually be eliminated. They won't be, I don't think. They would need a lot to go. I don't even think they could be, but there would be too much on the table going into the last week. It might take they might be out of the driver's seat, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, it's the Panthers, so go take care of business.
All right. We don't have a play on this game, but I do want to talk about it. The Dolphins are going into Baltimore. This is the seventh time that these two teams have played each other in the last 8 years. It's the rare non-division foe that play annually for some reason. We play each other all the time. Ravens are a 3.5-point favorite, I think, 4-point favorite, somewhere there. I know I'm biased here, so I don't want to speak on this, but Al, what is your thought on this game?
I don't know if there's a spread I wouldn't bet Baltimore on these days. I think Baltimore would be the play. Whether you're laying it or getting points, I think they're still being undervalued.
Yeah. No, they're a bit of a wagon. They're hitting wagon status pretty hard here. So I do think the Ravens are probably the right play, but Miami has played Baltimore well the last 2 times, beating them in Miami and in Baltimore last year in that crazy shootout game week 2. So let's see what happens. Tennessee is going to Houston. That is a fun game for Houston. Hopefully we see CJ Stroud back. And Pittsburgh starts off the 4:00 slate. Pittsburgh looked great last weekend, and I think that's also a part of playing the shines off the Jake Browning apple a little bit, because he looked like dog shit on Christmas Eve. So, or was that the 23rd? I don't remember. All these days blur together. Al, what are you doing here with Pittsburgh at Seattle? A game that matters to both teams, surprisingly still.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Tomlin, what the hell? How does he keep doing it?
It's like clockwork.
I mean, I guess technically he hasn't done it yet. The Steelers still need to get one more win to finish with another winning record, but they're at 8-7, absolute dog shit roster, top to bottom. I mean, that defense is good, I guess, so I probably shouldn't say that. But I'm on the under here, under 42. I think Geno Smith will be back for this one.
They expect him back.
Yeah, and that's a real shitty welcome back, having to play the Steelers. I also think Steelers at home versus Steelers on the road are two different teams. So I would expect less of an offensive output from Pittsburgh, obviously. And I think we'll see some rust on Geno.
Yeah, I'd expect a lot of the same there. 425. We got Chargers at Broncos. A game. Is Denver still alive? Yeah, they're technically still alive.
Yep.
Al, what are you doing here?
Yeah, so Andy's taking the Chargers plus 5.5. I am laying 5 with the Broncos at home. I think we saw that sort of save-based performance from the Chargers last week, and I think they're ready to pack up and go home now. So the Broncos are going to be out to seal this one up, stay in the hunt for the playoffs, and the Chargers are tapping out.
Yeah. Andy's also on the over 39 here in this game. Let's go to 425. A really, really interesting game. Is there not a Monday night game this week? Am I looking at this proper?
I don't know.
There's not a Monday night game this week. Okay. Oh, I guess New Year's Day. College football wins, huh? Finally.
Yeah.
425 is a game that looked really cool on paper before the season. And now we're left with Cincinnati at Kansas City. Al, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Las Vegas Kansas City game yesterday, or if you watched Kansas City lately. They don't look the same. We can safely say that
they're like they're coming apart, man.
They look. What's their standings right now? I know they basically have. It's like a certainty that they will win the AFC.
They are 9-6, which is much less intimidating than they've been in years past. They do have a decent point differential though, plus 68, so they should be better than a 9-6 record. But I really think they've struggled to formulate an offense. I think teams have figured out that the role players on that offense aren't good enough to support them. If you can just eliminate Travis Kelce, so teams are not being shy about bracketing him or doubling him. Taking away the short and intermediate stuff, and they're just saying, go ahead and beat us with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Rashee Rice and Kadarius Toney, and those guys aren't able to.
Yeah, no, they look bad, man. They legit look bad. Now, nothing's better than facing a Cincinnati that is led by Jake Browning, so they'll probably get right in this spot, but Andy is taking Cincinnati plus 7. Godspeed. I don't really have a thought on this one. And then Sunday night, and we've been waiting all day for it. We got Green Bay going into Minnesota. I believe both teams are still alive. Minnesota is right outside of the NFC playoff race, so this game is going to matter to Minnesota. I think Green Bay's right on the edge too.
So this game basically the loser of this game is going to have like a 1% shot to make the playoffs.
Oh, it's a loser leaves town?
Actually, by the time this game kicks off, the loser might be eliminated, depending on the results. Like if Seattle wins and the Rams win, and maybe some NFC South teams, then whoever loses might actually be eliminated.
I love a loser leaves town game.
Yeah.
It's the best. Yeah, like, all the stakes are here. And in theory, neither one of these teams will make the playoffs, but Seattle and Los Angeles have to do some work before then. So this will be a really interesting matchup because they'll know the result in hand by the time the kickoff happens and what work needs to be done for the winner to continue the season. So we got Green Bay, Minnesota. Andy is taking the under here. He is subscribing to Sunday night unders, and it has not been a bad strategy to this point. So with that being said, Al, you have any thoughts, or should we get straight into ChuggieBets?
Yeah, well, actually, I just want to say I really think that's a good bet. I really like that bet. I'll probably tail that one. So under 46.5 on Sunday Night Football. Yeah, but let's make some ChuggieBets. Let's wrap this baby up.
All right. I am going to take – man, NFL's tough. I'm going to go back to Thunder. Thursday under. Let's hit it. Under 36.5. Jets going to Cleveland.
That's funny. I think I'm going to do Jets plus 7.5.
Ooh, all right.
We're ready to get our hearts broke on Thursday night, man.
Seriously. They're gonna when the Browns win by 8 and it's 24-16. I don't know if I did that right. I did. Let's see. What do you think Annie wants here, buddy?
Yeah, so I mean, if it were me, I'd probably do that Packers Vikings under. But if we want to be fun, we can give him like Arizona or Washington. That'd be fun.
No, let's do the Packers Vikings under. I think that's the good one.
Okay. All right.
All right. I'm drunk, so let's end this podcast good. Thank you for everyone listening.
Cheers.
Go enjoy your NFL. Look, you're gonna miss it. Baby, you're going to miss it when it's gone in a couple weeks. I know the playoffs will be here, but
So
you'll
close.
have the full slate. You'll no longer see Hanson on your Red Zone channel. He's going to be going to
All
hibernation.
these bowl games will be over, and you'll be like, oh shit, I only have football 2 days a week.
Yeah, in all dedicated windows. So enjoy and good night, Kat.
Cheers.